Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Apple Markets. My name is Chris. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a look at the Forex market and some other instruments, as always, on this 27th of January. But first of all, though, this disclaimer explaining that the webinar is shown to a global audience, but may not be suitable for everyone. Take a look at this link, select your country of residence, and contact the appropriate entity to find out more about that and conditions and details. Also, please be aware that trading for exchange and global financial markets is considered high risk, may not be suitable for everyone. Please seek the advice of an independent financial advisor for more information on that. This webinar is not advice and is for informational and educational purposes only. If you're continuing watching this webinar, you agree with this disclaimer, plus you're aware of the risk involved when trading. Alrighty. Just in case you haven't voted as yet, there's still a last opportunity today because the voting should end somewhere tomorrow. I don't remember exactly the time, but today for sure should be still okay. You can go to this link, and then you are able to vote on Nanit Kirkes and Admiral Markets at FX Street. There's an award for the best content and analysis of 2015, and Nanit and I both contribute to Admiral Markets, for FX Street. So we would really appreciate your vote, and yeah, will be great. Thank you so much. All right, so let's take a look at the market. We're going to take a look at the live charts in just a second. Just wanted to let you know that Admiral Markets won the MT4 Broker Award last year. Admiral Markets has a Supreme Edition with 60 plus additional features of all kinds of things that make the trading a lot easier. And Admiral Markets also has the web trader, and I want to show you that. You can take a look. This is how you can find it, just going to trading platforms, MT4 web trader, click on launch and log in as you normally would. And once you do that, you should be able to see the web trader. And I'm trying to find it. Okay, it doesn't matter. I guess I don't have it open yet. So I'll launch it right now. And you click in login, and you have access to your trades. So that's very simple and easy to see, and you can do that right there. All right. So with that said, Admiral Markets also has a lot of information on the website, analytics and content, among others, of course, fundamental, technical, and wave analysis. But our goal today is to take a look at the calendar first of all. And we can see that there's a consumer confidence let's see, that was actually already taking place. What else do we got? In Italy, we have consumer confidence. I guess, no, what country is this? Yeah, Italy. I thought it was Ireland for a second. Both have the green, white, and red-orange kind of color. We have dollar news, but of course the biggest one is actually on the FOMC decision there later today in the US session. That's for Europe, that's about 8 p.m., 7 p.m. All right. So that's a biggie. I got to be careful when that news event comes close. Alrighty. Let's take a look at the heat map. We have some stocks rising, silver falling. What does the currency outlook look like? We got dollar CAD falling a lot, actually a lot more than I expected. Euro CAD falling a lot, pound yen rising. We got some CADs rising here as well. Lots of CAD strength, in fact. Those are the four biggest movers. So let's see. Let me take a look here. Currency range, CAD being second. Pound still first. CAD a big mover yesterday, in fact. But pound still the number one. So it's interesting to see the heat map just to get an idea about the volatility and momentum that's going on. What else stands out? Well, Euro odd perhaps. What is this one? Euro odd, and this is pound CAD. Yep. All right. So, definitely CAD here you can see and pound on the number one front. So let's take a look at the charts now. All right, let's take a look at the euro dollar. All right, a lot has happened since yesterday, and I was talking about basically that this is not a good buying zone. The price should at least go back to into this area right in here. But preferably, I would like to see price just go back to one of these fibs. So price didn't do that. It made that fall yesterday, went down to the 61.8 fib, and then started to slowly but surely bounce from that level. And we've had a gradual rise since that point. I did take a short and a long on the euro dollar, but I didn't make anything. I lost 4 pips on the first one. I was break even on the second trade. And the first one was the short, and the second was a long. And I didn't have, I guess, patience enough to stay in this trade to the upside. Also because I made money on other trades, and I thought it wasn't worth the risk to keep this trade on. Whereas maybe if I would not have made profit on, some of the pound trades, I maybe would have stayed in this trade. I don't know. But that was the reason, at least from that point of view. It was going slow, and I really was not that excited about the speed at which it was moving. But eventually, it did push up, and maybe some of you are in that trade. I don't know. It's at the moment, if you took it anywhere at the 61 or 50 fib, let's say the 50 fib, you could be up, anywhere around 30 now, and there was a bit of a spike here to 50. And I would definitely, if you're in that trade, move the stop loss to below the 108.50, which is a support level right in here. So I would go to 108.45, locking in about 14 pips at the moment and taking the risk off the table. That's the minimum I would do, right? And there's no sense, I would say, to leave the risk on the table. Now, what at this moment could be happening is a ABC zigzag, for instance. So there could be space up to these targets. Primarily, I would say the minus 61.8 target or the minus 1,000 target. And there we got 2 trend lines as well. Those are resistance trend lines. This is green just because it's part of a bigger triangle. Let me change the color. Let me make it red so it's more intuitive. So these are resistance trend lines. The orange-brown one is a long-term trend line. The red one is the triangle on a 4-hour chart. So we could have that space to the upside. I would say that if I look at the euro dollar, that it's set up for a bullish continuation at the moment. And although it's quite corrective, and that's one of the things that, it might be not so great to trade this particular currency pair, just because, let's face it, it's not really a pair that is moving a lot. It's not really one that has a trend. It's a range, and from that point of view, not really that exciting. Now we can put, trend lines like this to indicate support and resistance. Price is trying to break through resistance at the moment, and there could be this breakout. But all in all, is it worth trading if maybe another currency pair is better? And that I have some doubts. We can take a look at others and see if there's something better lined up on other charts. Now we can take a look at the bigger triangle. The green and the red lines are here. You can see, and we're about halfway with the long-term support, a resistance here. So it's quite a choppy chart. 4-hour chart, if we zoom out just a bit, you can see all of that choppiness here and here is just part of a massive triangle or consolidation that has lasted now for close to 2 months. So that's about it. Let me see your questions. No questions so far. Good morning, Bundo. Good morning, Beverly. Let's take a look now at the pound USD. Pound USD, I had 2 trades as well. No, I didn't. 1 trade. I had on the pound yen, I had 2 trades. I had a short and a long. The pound USD, I actually only took the long. So I was thinking about the short, but I didn't. We were talking about this yesterday as well, and the fact that this is looking like a falling wedge, but if it breaks the 61.8, it could be down to the 78.6 fib, or if it breaks the falling wedge, then it could be a breakout trade to the upside. In this point of view, it actually, we were talking about it yesterday, kind of broke through it a bit, and that could have been the sign for that breakout. In retrospect, we can see it was just a bit of a bigger push, I think, through the 61.8. And that's always a bit tricky. Is it really a break, or is it just still respecting that fib. That's why I said I want to see on lower time frames. I would like to see, let's see, yeah, a kind of like a bear flag or a triangle, and then a break of the triangle. And because then, there's a higher chance that the breakout will, bring price down to the 78.6. If it doesn't do that, then I was kind of scared for this scenario that we would get indeed the opposite side. So what we had here is not really we had maybe a mini triangle, but we didn't break that triangle like this, right? We didn't break the triangle. We broke the triangle to the upside. So I took the trade actually here, and that was based on the 5-minute chart, and then we'll go right away to see what's going on right now. This was the break. That was the impulse. I consider this to be the correction, and as soon as price started to rebound here, I took a long. Maybe a bit too early if I criticize my own trade in retrospect, and maybe should have waited for the double dip here, because it could have corrected deeper, but okay, it worked out. I put a very tight stop loss. I took risk by putting it right below the bottom here, which made it only 20 pips, but it worked out as I made 76 as I took it off here. And I took it off right there in the green circle because 5 to 6 candles did not break this top, considered the momentum to be over, and didn't want to stay in that trade any longer. 76 pips, indeed, it was already enough for me, considering the 20 risk. That was almost 4 to 1 in reward to risk. So that was, great. And it did push higher, but that's okay. Now this was a bit risky, I think, but okay, it worked out well regarding the R2R, so that compensated a lot as well. And the only criticism I think is that from a time factor, actually, this was not really the moment to trade it. I should have probably waited for a bit more candles, but that's okay. You learn from every trade. It did work out well, but the reason once again was the break here, and this was a pullback, and then was looking for this continuation. And a higher time frame, basically, on a 30-minute chart, that would look like this. That's where I took the breakout in this little small pause of the falling wedge that was occurring after impulse here. So we had impulse, corrective chart pattern, bounce off 61.8 fib, took the breakout here, and took the profit basically before reaching this top. That's where price stopped. Is this a double top? Let's talk about now. Or is it just a pause for upside? Let's take a look. Excuse me. Well, we had a very bullish day, obviously, yesterday. And, if I would put a fib on that day, let's do that like this. All right, let's do that and go to the 4-hour chart. Price bounced off to 23.6 fib, right, so far, which is typically a very shallow, once price bounces off such a shallow fib and would break out to the upside, that's actually a sign of strength. What happens is basically is that if that happens, this is becoming a supply and demand zone. And if price makes a rectangle like this, a box like that, after a significant momentum to the upside, that's actually showing strength. Like this is, once it breaks above this top, once it breaks above 143.65, is breaking 2 resistance points, but it's also doing it at a moment where we had momentum, flatness. And flatness really just means no one's interested in selling. Maybe not buying at this moment because of time factor, is Asian session, so everyone's waiting for let's say today's session to start, London session. But there's no downside pressure either. That's what really a sideways rectangle means in this case. So that's very strongly bullish, I think, in my opinion. So as soon as that top breaks, as soon as 143.65 breaks, that's definitely bullish territory. And the correction would then at least continue. We talked about already, in fact, look at this, for instance, here. You can see here, shallow retracement, 23.6 fib. What did it do? Boom, momentum down up to the 61.8. That's the type of thing that I'm looking for today as well. All right, and there will be another correction, another momentum like we had yesterday. So already here we said this is momentum, right? This could be correction and we get a momentum, even though it's a downtrend. And then again we said, well, this could be a bigger momentum. This could be a correction. We can have another big momentum. So within the second blue circle, we're going to have probably again the same green, red, green, like we had before that. Green, red, green, green, red, green, making blue, red, blue. Now, let's see. What did I want to say? I lost my thought here, but anyhow. So the question is only how far can this correction go, right? It doesn't have to stop here. It could go lower. And if it does, I think that these could be interesting fibs, the 38 and 50 bounce. I will try to see if I can get a bounce from those levels. Monitoring hourly chart, seeing if there's any pin bar at those fibs, monitoring 50-minute chart to see if we get it, or 5-minute or 15 to see if we get any impulse pullback and continuation after hitting a fib like that. And the second option is if price breaks above this level, as I said, I would like to see a break, pullback, and go. And try to trade it in the pullback. Or after the pullback. Something like here. And I think the target, we have the pivot points available now. Let's see. Pivot is at 142.94. 142.94. That's a 38.2 fib. So that's a confluence. There's a 38.2 fib is now stronger because of the pivot, the daily pivot that's there. And the upside targets, well, let's take a look. We got an intermediate target at 144.14, 18 here. And a potential to even go to the minus 61.8 target at 144.48, which is the R2 daily pivot point as well. So 2 target potentials. I wouldn't be surprised if price does something like that then. And this trade would be probably the most interesting one, or from here. All right. All of that bullishness is within the downtrend channel, but at this moment, price is actually trying to break through that channel. And ultimately, I think price can get up to 145, which is the highest intraday target, which is close to other targets as well. The 61.8 green fib from this bounce here, as you can see, but also a bigger 38.2 fib. So there's a lot of targets up in here. That could be a big resistance zone. Because although the downtrend channel is being broken, this could just be correction, and then we could see one more, probably at least one more fall, I would say, within that bigger downtrend. All right, that's the pound USD. Looks a lot more interesting to me than the euro dollar. All right, dollar yen yesterday said if we get a bounce here, could be one more move down to the 50. We didn't. We actually got a break to the upside, but the break really didn't go too far. And anyone who took the break should have been, at break even, I would say, because this is not showing strength, these candles. And when you see a couple of candles like that challenging without continuing, and then again a couple of candles not breaking, that's definitely a moment where you want to do some trade management. for a breakout like this at least. At this moment, I'm not really interested in trading this dollar yen. I think it's in a triangle, and I'm not that keen on trading it within that triangle. If it breaks the triangle, there could be a move up to the 50 fib, close to 120 to the upside. If it breaks the triangle, maybe a downside to the 50, very small space, maybe down to these fibs. All right, pound yen. Now, pound yen, I was trading personally the bounce. Let's see here. Somewhere in here, because basically what I was looking at is this channel, and it seemed to show some respect to that channel, but maybe I used a smaller, too small time frame. I was using a 5-minute chart. Maybe I should have used a bit higher time frame. If I used a higher time frame, I would have seen that there was not a bounce on that time frame, on the higher time frame, and I actually just kept on pushing to the upside. So that was a short that lost me 34 pips, I think. And the idea was to trade it down to the 61.8 fib there, and then look for a bounce again. But it broke, so I took the break, just similar like the pound USD, and took it basically the same trade, but on the pound yen, and ended up for almost 196 or so. And the risk was more, was 40 pips. And but here the same stopping spot, and I think in theory should be the same as the pound, but we do have a yen side of things to deal with. This is certainly looking like that there's a chance of a bigger correction. We got 1, 2, 3, fourth day. This has turned. So there could be a potential here for price to make a zigzag up and then maybe find resistance again. All right, we can add a trend line perhaps like this. If that breaks, well then, there could be some signs here of that this is just a correction and we could fall like that. Challenge this bottom again. That's something to reckon with. If it breaks this top and resistance, then there could be that breakout to the upside. And let's see. At this moment, I don't think I'm not sure about fibbing this part and trading a 38.2 fib here. I probably would just stick to the pound USD on that. This had already a bit steeper correction, as you can see, gradually. Let me put a fib on it just to show. No, not really that much. Okay, well, it seemed like that. A tad, but it was really less than I expected. Okay, anyhow, considering maybe this pattern of the trend lines, I would probably rather wait for price to get a bit deeper before maybe looking for a bounce um, on this trend line. Sorry, on this formation. But I think the same should be the same. The only thing is the dollar yen, right? Dollar yen is a triangle, and it seems to be bouncing off the triangle. So there could be a move down to the triangle, which could have a bit more bearish impact on the pound yen too. But it stays the same. One point is the same. If the break of this could be bullish, is bullish territory, and if it moves lower, it's bullish territory, and if it breaks, it's bearish territory. All right, but a bit more cautious maybe because of the yen side. All right, Euro yen is a bit wacky because it had a triangle, it broke that triangle, went right straight to the weekly support, bounced off of it last week, and then the weekly candle ended up bullish. And if you look at the daily, it's going awkwardly sideways. And price is just not doing much. So I would almost just skip this one right now. But one thing could be if it breaks, one of these trend lines, there could be potential for a breakout. But considering the choppiness here, I'm not trading the breakout. I would need to see a breakout successfully make a higher low here, or to break out to the downside, successfully make a lower high before considering anything on this euro yen. Odd USD, all right, was considering that this could be actually still actually a retracement for one more downside, similar to, what was it? Similar to the pound, I think, right? Pound yen. But it didn't, and it did bounce eventually off of this inverse head and shoulders pattern that we were talking about on Monday. And I also said keep an eye on this 4-hour candle, because if it closes bullish, that's a pin bar, and that could be the signal on a 4-hour chart of a bounce. And it was. So I was talking about yesterday about a pending order above this candle high with a stop loss here. So anyone who took that trade, I would put the stop, or I have the stop loss here at this moment. And that's where I would recommend it. And see if it's able to get up to the 50 fib or the 61.8. I would probably just target the 50. Right? At about 70, 75. All right, so that's a bounce straight to the upside. And a breakout as well, in fact, of this channel. All right, this channel broke, and we got the breakout right now, or during this week. And all in all, we were talking about yesterday the potential of a zigzag up to resistance, and that could be a turnaround. Now, I said if this blue level is broke, then there could be that downside. We had a tiny little break, but actually it just went just below it and then reverted with a lot of steam, and there was no signal here of price stopping, at least in my vision. So no reason to short, and it just kept on moving up and broke. So the breakout is where I took it. Now at this moment, I don't see really much to trade. It's right at the top. And the only thing that could be interesting, I think, is if price gets higher, to look for resistance. Let me see where the pivot points are. Let's see, the pivot points. There's R2 at 71.22. There's R1 at the 61.8 fib, where I have the red line. It's R2, and the R1 is at the 50 fib. And you can see that a lot of times these fib targets or fib levels are equal to these pivot points, right? So this is already the third time, I think. All right, let's take a look at the euro pound. Knut is asking for the euro pound. We got a bit of a retracement after this upside, and then we'll take a look at other pairs as well to see if there are any trades for today besides the pound, I would say, and perhaps the pound yen. Others are not looking that interesting. Maybe the Aussie, as I said, but as a reversal trade off of the fibs. Let's see if there's anything else going on that could be interesting. There's a rejection weekly bar at the euro pound, bearish. Could be a pin bar. A couple of weeks up. Hits the tunnel, the long-term moving average. And this has a decent bearish close here, bearish candle. So that could be a bit of a warning signal, perhaps on the euro pound for a bounce. Now, if I look at the daily chart, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 candles at this moment, and it seems like we're at the bouncing spot because of the 21 EMA band. So what I think could be a good idea is to put a fib from here to here. And we already had a bounce actually up to the 61.8 yesterday. So that could be it. But if price does make one more push, There could be two pushes. It could retrace this candle, or it can go up to the perhaps even still to the 78.6 fib. You never know, and that could be resistance for downside. This has already turned. The 4-hour chart has divergence. That's important. So the minimum target would be the tunnel. Let's see. We broke once below the 21 EMA and now again. So it's going to be critical how price, I would say, approaches the 61.8 fib. I think that there could be a failure to break that, and there could be this type of a breakout down to the 272 target. Looks bearish to me. Looks like it's going to reverse, could even reverse deeper, right? To the 61. So that could be a break to the downside, a reversal breakout. Oh. Right there. Or if it does bounce, maybe it could find resistance at this trend line, or at least this top, or the 78.6 fib. But I think that still, if it breaks above this top, I want to be careful too, because there is still a trend to the upside. So although 78.6 fib could be a strong resistance spot, most likely is, gotta also keep in mind that that price could do this, and if it makes a bull flag, you want to get out of that trade because it can continue with the trend. But if it makes the upside here, hits the 78.6 fib, turns around and starts to make a bull flag, bear flag, then it's probably good to go. At this moment, these look all like resistance spots to me. Trend is up. Well, let me say it this way: you see basically what we're having is a bigger retracement on the weekly, right? And daily, you can see weekly. Sorry. So it depends what time frame you're looking at. I think that let me get rid of this fib. Obviously, 4-hour is up, no doubt about it. But there's serious signs of a potential reversal because of the divergence. And because of the strong momentum here and the weakness so far in this area. We're at a target on the daily. The weekly, we're at a resistance level, reaching this bottom and the long-term moving average. So the combination of resistance, targets, divergence, weakness on the daily here, or it looks to be weakness. There are a lot of things that add up to say, okay, yeah, the 4-hour is an uptrend. But looking at all these factors on 4-hour, daily, and weekly, that uptrend is probably going to be gone. And also, if you actually look at the most recent highs and lows, the moving averages are still bullishly aligned. But if you look at that, you got 3 hits on the trend line. That's already a potential downtrend channel, in fact. So it's not a full-fledged downtrend because price is still above the moving averages. But I would not even consider it an uptrend anymore on the 4-hour, just because you got this channel. At best, the 4-hour is neutral, I would say. Probably the closest, I think, we can say at this moment. Pound out is really not doing much. it's in this upside trend, but the channel is strong. Price is now respecting the weekly support and respecting also this downtrend channel on the daily. So is it going to break the weekly support to the downside, or the daily downtrend and it's going to break it to the upside? All right, your odd is kind of in a funky spot. Yesterday we were talking about the fact that it would be nice if it went up to resistance here. It didn't get there. It made a downside too. And I was talking about it would be good to see a bounce at the support trend line for a move up to the head and shoulders pattern. On the 4-hour chart, you can see that a bit better. And then down again. So I was talking about this potential zigzag up to resistance and then down again. And we're at the support, so that could be a potential bouncing spot. But it has been quite choppy so far. And actually had a bottom break. So anyone who took, has taken a loss on this, I can't imagine that happened because it has been breaking. It's been a bit choppy. Oh, by the way, the moving averages, the green one is 21 EMA, and the purple one is 144 EMA. So what could be a good trade? Maybe this mini break of this little bit channel here. All right, that could be just a bit of a channel. We do have the support trend line coming in like this. So if it bounces, it should break above the channel and it could rise to that resistance spot. Let me take a look at the Euro odd where the pivot points are. Yeah, got it. 155.06 is the pivot, daily pivot. Let's check where that price level is. There we go. That blue line. So I would say a break above the blue line and a hook back to it might make me interested in buying it to the upside. Or not necessarily exactly to the blue line, but I would like to see an impulse. I would like to see a bit of a pullback on the 5 or 15 and then a rise. But otherwise, I'm not really interested in going long. I'm not interested in going short either because of the long-term support close by. All right, Kiwi dollar. Let's see. Had a rise, but less strong than the Aussie, and kind of building a triangle like this. Still favors the upside despite the downtrend. And it's all about the zigzag. Putting a fib like this, we can see price stopped at the 38.2 fib. Putting a fib on this swing high, swing low, we see that price stopped at the 61.8 fib. So if it breaks above the triangle like that, the next target is the confluence between the 50 and the minus 272 target there. And you see how nicely these line up? There you go. Or the golden ratio numbers, the 61.8 fib and the minus 61.8 target. Like that. So that's, I think, quite likely considering the momentum here, the triangle that we're seeing here. So I would expect that upside like that. Now, these could be very strong resistance zones because ultimately, if you look at the daily, now we got a lot of fibs on this. 1 second. If you look at the daily, it's like the Aussie in the sense that it broke support, made double top, broke through support, and this could be a hook back to the 50 and trend line for downside. Same story like the Aussie as we explained yesterday. All right, so blue is not so good. All right, so that could be a bouncing spot. It doesn't have to be though, by the way. Who knows? Because I do expect a bounce, but we don't know how far it will bounce, right? I think we'll get some good level here of movement to at least have a break-even trade at that spot. But how far it will go, that's something we'll have to see how price reacts to the resistance spot. If it falls with some impulse, it's probably a good chance. Now, considering that this is the 5th month, I think that there's still a good chance of a good downside. So I think the papers of the 50 fib indeed being a spot for downtrend continuation are higher than something like this happening. So probably looks like a break, pullback, continue for the moment. All right, dollar CAD did not work out as well as the Aussie did. It didn't work out as well at all, actually. The dollar CAD did not bounce at the level I was hoping for. I saw a bounce into the tunnel here. Was hoping for a pullback and continue, but that totally actually didn't work out. It continued lower, and the CAD strength here was not what I expected with against the dollar at least. And actually, we saw in the heat map that the CAD had strength against a lot of pairs, right? Being pretty big mover as well. So yeah, that didn't expect that. The Aussie is working well, but this one not at all. And well, certainly looking more and more like at least that this is going to be a bigger correction. I mean, this is looking more like a 5-wave now. Eventually, we should have an ABC. But then there's a good chance of finding more downside if this is a 5-wave, which to me, it definitely looks like that. So with this in mind, I think there's still a chance of that ABC rally. The question is when and where. Let's take a look at the hourly. In the hourly, we see divergence between these bottoms now. That could be one clue. We're still at the tunnel relatively close, right? Let me take a look at the pivot points. Price is below the main pivot, 141.64. The only thing is, so far, this is looking pretty slow upside so far. I mean, this could easily kind of like a channel. We still have that momentum here. And one single divergence on the hourly chart is not, it's something to consider, but it's not super strong either. So I'm a bit cautious with trading this to the same direction one day later. So from that point of view, I think I'll just stand on the sidelines. This was still a strong momentum on the 30-minute chart. And we might need to have a 50-minute chart. Now, although we have divergence on the hourly and even on the 30, it's only a single one. The 30 is just barely actually a divergence. So it could be even one more little break to get double divergence before making the bigger move up. And so I'm not interested in this pair. All right, that was, I guess, most of the currency pairs I normally take a look at. Let's take a look at some other things that might be interesting in our view, just to take a look at what's going on. DAX. All of these equities have a bullish candle last week, a bullish candle that occurs at support, a bullish candle that happened after a significant downturn and down move. And is that only a bounce, a dead cat bounce for a break to the downside? Or is this just indeed a bigger bounce and we're going to go retest these tops again? My bias at the moment is that it's a bounce that's going to find resistance and we're going to get it moved down. Whether it's going to break this bottom, it really depends how fast is it moving up and how fast is it moving down. I can't give an answer on that. But I think that the resistance is still nearby, and then it's going to be interesting to see how much it responds to that. What kind of resistance levels I think we can use on the 4-hour chart? We can use the same kind of techniques here. 38.2 fib, it's like the dollar yen. Same thing, 38.2 fib. And if it does make a zigzag like that, you got a 50 and these kind of fib confluences that I think could be strong resistances. And I think price will bounce there. And then it depends, how strong is it going to react? And today's FOMC obviously is going to have a large role in that as well, by the way. A couple of days of a bit of a bounce on oil as well. Oil reaching as low as 27.50, bouncing back to 33. I'm making a bit of a consolidation. And there's nothing different with the S&P compared to that of the DAX, really, or a little difference at least. Gold is getting a bit of relief, moving to the upside, still in this downtrend channel, or is it more of a falling wedge, perhaps, because it's starting to look corrective. And on a monthly chart, what are we looking at? Well, that certainly does start to look like a falling wedge. Last month was still a low. So I think for a breakout to the upside, we need a break above 1180 here. Why? Because we got a lot of bottoms here and resistance here. That's an important level. And if we break above 1180, we're breaking above that resistance. We're breaking above the rising wedge. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of impulse like that and correction like that. And once that happens, maybe that could be a spot for then a bigger rally like that. Now, I don't know how big. I mean, it could be just a simple ABC zigzag up to here and it goes no further. If it doesn't break this level, well, this could be still resistance, obviously, and it could still keep falling within this falling wedge and go down to the minus 272 target at 1000-ish, 1011. So as we get higher here, it could be also a very logical bouncing spot for a move down to that target. All right, let's see. Silver probably not so much different. Yeah, it looks kind of the same. Do you have any questions or any currency pair you would like to take a look at or instrument that we have not looked at as yet? By the way, you can also take a look at stocks if you maybe not in the demo, I'm not sure about that. Here you can see hashtag and all the variations. This is IBM. Just randomly taking one. Really falling deeply. 61.8 at the fib at the moment. There's a bit of supply demand zoning here. And if we put opposite fibs, let's take a look at this. big momentum to the downside. And this is not an easy one to trade. It's at support, but there's a lot of momentum to the downside. This is catching a falling knife if you want to look for a bounce here to the upside. I think that I don't trade stocks, but a lot of momentum to the downside. Although this could be, I think, what is called a exhaustion gap, perhaps. I don't know. But there's a lot of momentum here. And the stock market, of course, is also falling pretty strongly. So let's see how far this momentum can last. I mean, there's no signal as yet, even on the daily chart, to say that this is anything of a bounce as yet. Okay, great, Beverly. Perfect. So from that point of view, maybe we have some time left. If you like, we can take a look maybe at some not like market setups or something like that, but just more like analysis, and not analysis, but I mean reviewing some educational things maybe we can talk about. So if you're in a rush, no problem to leave, of course, but otherwise we still have some time left. Maybe we can talk about some random pairs and some things we just bump into together. Let me think, which pair does anyone have a pair in mind? Let me take a look. The heat map is lost its, let's see. I can take a look at maybe the pound Swissy and pound CAD. All right. Let's get rid of this very big long-term moving average. Pound Swissy. I'm not sure if I really want to look at this Swissy. I'm not that. let me correct that to the pound CAD. All right. Let's take a look again at this template. All right, what do we got going on here on the monthly chart? Monthly chart, we saw a massive sideways movement here, and I remember very clearly looking at that sideways move and thinking a breakout is going to be a great trade. Not necessarily only to the upside, right? Breakout to the down or upside. Why is it not working? Good. Yeah, indeed, Beverly. I agree with you. I don't even look at it. Actually, I guess I don't even want to be tempted by trading it. I agree with your skepticism. I'm not a fan either of trading it. Big sideways move. Breakout happened to the upside, and it really was a good breakout, right? Look at that. Remember? I'm not sure if you were looking at the charts at that time, but it was about 2.5 years ago. Beautiful break. And we've had some couple of breaks and continuations after that. We had a bit of a pause here on the monthly chart with about almost a year going sideways. Then we had a break, pull back, and continue. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candle now. So we're getting into an interesting part of the pound CAD. CAD weakness, but because pound has been weak as well against the dollar, we don't see actually the pound CAD moving up like the dollar CAD as much. And what are we seeing? We're seeing actually two candles, one wick here, and then January candle that's not closed yet. A couple of days left, so we don't know exactly how that's going to end up. But if it does end up like it is now, we got two massive wicks, a potential double top, and we got a lot of bearishness and some weakness. It looks weak at least. So let's see how this monthly candle ends. And that's, of course, actually valid for all these currency pairs. A couple of days from now, we're going to have a lot of fresh information again. This weekend, we can take a look at a lot of weekly and monthly candles and get some new updated long-term analysis. And this pound CAD I think is definitely interesting from that point of view. We have momentum up still, and I would say next month is still a chance that it could just keep on going up. But if it doesn't, this could be maybe a sign of struggle for this uptrend. Looking at the targets, putting a fib from here to here first of all, what do we see? Not surprising it's struggling, considering the fact that it hit the minus 61.8 target after hitting the minus 272 target. So you see very nice harmony in the market. Impulse, correction almost to the 38.2 fib. In fairness, it just missed it actually, right? Let me use pink. Otherwise, too many colors. Then up to the 272 target, pull back up to the 61.8 target, now struggling. So from that point of view, let's move this fib up from here to here. And we see a 38.2 fib bounce. So if there is weakness on this monthly, let's take a look at the weekly now, because price, as you can see, on the monthly is above the 8 EMA. All right, a lot of momentum here. It hasn't hit the 21 EMA for 7 candles. There's not a lot. All right, weekly chart. Do we have divergence? Yes, we do. We have divergence between these tops on a weekly chart, which means that the target this moment is a long-term moving average at the 78.6 fib. Right here, right? That confluence there. Or even the 61.8, because as it corrects, these moving averages are going to go higher, right? So any of these two fibs probably. That's really what the goal is at the moment, the weekly divergence. Now, mind you, of course, that divergence, especially on a weekly chart or any chart, is going to take lots of time to play out. It doesn't have to be immediately either. This is like a general kind of warning signal, nothing very concrete. But it's something that we can definitely take along in our analysis. Looking at the weekly chart too, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles, very bearish. 6 candles means that this was a spike up, most likely, and that is a confirmed double top. Doesn't mean that that double top cannot break, but it is a confirmed double top. We do have support like this, so it could also just be an ascending wedge, right? But now we also know that there's double divergence on the, there's a divergence on the weekly. So then it's probably less likely to be a rising wedge and more likely to be a double top from that point of view. And once again, if it does break below support, does break below this trend line, but primarily breaks below the 21 EMA band and these bottoms, there's going to be fall from the 38.2 to the 50, which could cause a bounce, then probably another fall down to the 61.8, and maybe one more fall down to the 78.6. That would have to be accompanied with CAD strength, which is in a way almost difficult to imagine because we had so much weakness of it. So let's see. But the divergence is giving a warning, at least on the pound CAD. All right, daily you can see price is actually at the tunnel, right? You can see hit the tunnel a couple of times, was a bouncing spot at that point. So is it going to break below this tunnel? And if it does, it's going to drag the 21 EMA with it, and it's going to start crossing the tunnel. And what could happen is that price then bounces back to the 21 EMA, and then it's question mark. Will it then use it as a resistance for the 50? If it does, it could be a great trade to the downside. So really, from a long-term perspective, the best short is here. After the bounce, after the break, pullback, and bounce. Right there. Alrighty. Now, we can put a fib from here to here. All right, and price is at the minus 272 target. Let me get rid of this fib now. Let's put a blue line here, or a yellow line. All right, that signifies or signals the target, the long-term target to the downside, if it does break. All right, and let's put a fib from this correction first, because you can see we had a move down, we had a bounce, failure to break the stop, and then price started to break below the 21 EMA band again. This is actually the second break below the 21 EMA band. So what probably, I think there's still a good chance, considering the support levels up in here, down in here, the price could bounce one more time. And then is the question, how is it going to respond here? Is it going to break like this? Or is it perhaps going to make a double kind of dip and start to rise again? All right, so the break is not a guarantee at this moment. And in fact, it could bounce off that support before it breaks, right? So is there any trade setup based from that point of view? Well, there could be a bounce, first of all, right here, before we get that downside. So although the weekly is showing a potential for a breakout to the downside here, that trade setup does not seem necessarily ready right now. Unless it starts really breaking below, I guess we have to break below maybe the 200 level, which is equal to this psychological level and the minus 61.8 target, and is well below the tunnel. So that's not something that seems, set up right now. More in the future. What could be is a bounce spot up to resistance. Now on a 4-hour chart, we can see that actually the price is in a downtrend. And at this moment, it's showing a consolidation between the 0 level here and the target. Let's see. So a break above this resistance, right? There could be a bit of a rally up to the long-term moving average here of the 4-hour chart, and that could be a resistance again. It doesn't look that great to me because of the fact that we have a consolidation at the moment. We're in a downtrend on the 4-hour chart, but we got long-term support on the daily. It seems too much of a mixture for me to say that this is the lower time frames on this, the 4-hour and the 1-hour are interesting to trade. Downside not, with support close by. Upside on hourly, I don't know. It's possible, but look, it doesn't look that great to me, to be honest. So I don't think it's a great pair. I do like the long-term potential of perhaps a reversal taking place. Oh, and like this maybe, right? But it first has to happen before that could be interesting. Let's take a look at some other pairs. Let's take a look at New Zealand perhaps. Doesn't look that impressive so far, but maybe the lower time frames look different. Looks like divergence between these tops. Potential divergence at least. Choppy upside. Really a yucky daily chart, sorry. Does not impress me at all. Price is at a long-term resistance, making this kind of correction. It looks like it has an upside angle, but it's very choppy. 15-minute chart is moving down quickly, so if there is a bit of a bounce, maybe back here, it shows weakness on an hourly chart like that. Could be a mini head and shoulders. Could be a short within this rising wedge at resistance. Maybe the hourly is too much, but maybe a 30-minute chart. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles. It's at support, so there could be a chance of a bounce. And if it shows weakness here, we might get that kind of stuff going on right there. Not really a big trade, but if it does show weakness here, moves down and then breaks this pattern, big if. But if it does break that support line, then there's a bigger, potential or a bigger space to denounce it. Got a lot of corrections going on. Let's see. Corrections of a trend. You can see that, like this has really been a good mover so far. Let me add this target tool here. Pip sequences. See how far it went. So you got space between 3 and 4, 4 and 5, 5 and 6, falling almost to 7. So no wonder we're getting a bit of a bigger bounce because it has fallen in one shot so much. Let me do it the opposite direction now. At the 5th, right? You can see that it stopped at the 4th and the 5th. So I don't think it's going to get to the 6th. Probably this is looking like a retracement to me, just like on the dollar yen, in fact. But it could get up to the 50 fib. Same story, really. It looks like we're going to have, basically, it looks like we're going to have, let me get rid of this. Correction, 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 and then follow through, I would say. It hasn't changed. I think it will probably see a lot of these patterns on many of these time frames and currency pairs. So with that said, let me take a look at the majors. Let's see what's going on. Anything new, perhaps? Your dollar making the same fall like yesterday, but now bouncing a bit earlier than yesterday. Not that big fan of this one. Pound is not breaking the top, as I expected, and is proving not to be a supply and demand zone. But it could still be a bull flag. If it would have been a supply and demand zone, it would have broken the top without going below the 23.6 fib. While it is going below it as we speak, and I'm looking for the 38.2 fib as a bounce or the 50 fib as a bouncing spot. Pound yen is moving lower too. Would like to see that go a bit deeper. Dollar yen not interested. Odd USD looking for reversal at these resistances at the moment, seeing if it can push a bit higher with my long. QE, same story. In fact, looks like a triangle, right? Same story. Nothing really that much new happening here. Still in that triangle. Still on the bear flag. Euro pound bouncing into triangle as well. Euro still at the same spot, right? Nothing new really. All right. right, folks. Thank you so much. If you're interested in joining Admiral Markets, let us know. You can write me, for instance, and I'll give you more information about joining Admiral Markets, and you also get some extra bonuses when doing that. So send me an email, and you can find out more information like that. Otherwise, you got. Let me quickly add this here. 1 second, folks. Then we'll wrap it up. This is my email. And otherwise, take a look at our webinars tonight. Nanette is going to talk about divergence. Actually, well, we had a few examples today. So that's his focus. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at timing and how to use timing for your trading plan. So those are the webinars of this week still. Hope to see you then, and I wish you all good trading. Cheers.